Last debate, she made fun of me for actually joining TikTok while her own daughter was actually using the app for a long time. So you might want to take care of your family first.
Leave my daughter
appreciating
out of your
anybody else's
voice.
adult daughter. The next generation of Americans are using it. And that's actually the point. You have her supporters propping her up. That's fine. Here's the truth.
You're just
the easy
scum.
answer is actually to say that we're just going to ban one app. We got to go further. Do you want a leader from a different generation who's going to put this country first? Or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
All right, Mr.
In which case, we've got two of them on stage
Mr.
tonight.
Ramaswamy, thank you.
Yes, I'd first like to say they're 5-inch heels, and I don't wear them unless you can run in them.
We've got two of you on stage.
The second thing that I will say is I wear heels. They're not for a fashion statement. They're for ammunition.
Oh, man. You know, Vivek, he was pretty heavy on the presidential debate this time. Before, I'm sure you remember Vivek, he seemed to be a little bit more diplomatic. He was bringing about an idea that, hey, don't attack other Republicans. Don't do that sort of thing. We need to be positive, and it's not about running against something. It's running for something or to something. And in this case, it seems like somebody was talking to Vivek and maybe advised him and said, hey, you're dropping in the polls, or you're stagnant in the polls, because he hasn't really been doing as much of a upward decline in his ratings as opposed to when he first kind of was nobody heard of him, and then he soared into public notoriety. And I think this is really what's going to put him more on the map, is this kind of energy, because he's kind of mirroring a little bit more of Trump's can-do attitude or nonchalantness or not having a filter. And that is really clear, I think, that Vivek is kind of taking this approach now. But the rest of the debate, I'll show you some more of the clips from this debate. I'll kind of give you a rundown on what I think is going on with the other presidential candidates. And I would have to say I'm pretty impressed with DeSantis. He really looked presidential this time around. The other ones seem to be okay. Some of the, the doozies I would think was Tim Scott. He was a little bit of, he made people sleep during his talks. He just didn't put a lot of effort, or maybe it was just too much in his head, but you be the judge. Let's take a look at that.
Trump's a lot different guy than he was in 2016. He owes it to you to be on this stage and explain why he should get another chance. And he said Republicans were going to get tired of winning. Well, we saw last night, I'm sick of Republicans losing.
Well, I can talk about President Trump. I can tell you that I think he was the right president at the right time. I don't think he's the right president now.
And I am upset about what happened last night. We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer in the Republican establishment.
We need a president and a candidate who will actually help our base solidify and attract independent voters into our party.
And I'll say this about Donald Trump. Anybody who's going to be spending the next year and a half of their life focusing on keeping themselves out of jail and courtrooms cannot lead this party or this country,
right,
and it needs to be said plainly.
What would you do? What would you be urging Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to do?
The first thing I said to him when it happened was I said, finish them. Finish them. And the reason is I worked on this every day when I was at the United Nations. And we have to remember that they have to, 1, eliminate Hamas, 2, support Israel with whatever they need whenever they need it, and 3, make sure we bring our hostages home.
I would be telling Bibi, finish the job once and for all with these butchers, Hamas.
I would tell him to smoke those terrorists on his southern border, and then I'll tell him as President of the United States, I'll be smoking the terrorists on our southern border.
Okay, so you can definitely see there is a big difference. You see Vivek, he is, in contrast, basically saying, hey, there's a lot of danger here on our southern border, because a lot of what's been going on now, I'm sure you know, the United States is considered to be the one of the targets, actually, of what's going on in the Middle East. And the United States recently hasn't had a very good relationship. I mean, you got the fallout from way back in Iran. They're still upset about that from what happened into the 50s, and also leading up with all of the other skirmishes that we've had. and the endless wars we've had in Afghanistan, Iraq. I mean, it's just been nonsense. So you have at least 2-3 generations of people that are being taught to be against the West. And the thing is media, it's controlled. It's controlled in different parts of the world. So you'll have people in this country, and of course, Vivek is saying, hey, America first, try not to get stuck into the media narrative, because the media narrative is saying, okay, we have to support other countries, we have to give them money, like billions of dollars to other countries that don't like us that much. But of course, they're talking about sending money to eliminate Hamas, which makes sense. Hamas isn't the Palestinian people. I'm sure there's a lot of Palestinian people who feel that way, but are too afraid to say that, considering that it's very dangerous, I'm sure, for someone, a Palestinian, to speak out against Hamas. Otherwise, it would probably be, they would make him disappear. It would not be good. So I think that's really what the issue is right now, and I think the Republicans here are saying that because it's important to say.
The right to wipe Hamas off of the map. We will support you. We will be there with you. We'll stand shoulder to shoulder. There will be no daylight.
The fact is that Israel and their intelligence community failed. They failed here, and they failed the people of the state of Israel. And so we need to work closely and better together to make sure, one, that they're degraded, and two, that we know everything that's going on inside the Gaza Strip when it's going on, so that something like this can't happen to kill 1,400 individuals again.
It was my home state of Ohio, I'm upset about this, yesterday, that passed a constitutional amendment that now effectively codifies a right to abortion all the way up to the time of birth without parental consent. Why? It's back to that Republican culture of losing.
This is an issue.
Okay, so you got to see again on this one. This is about the abortion issue again. Abortion is considered to be one of the biggest reasons why the Republicans lost this time around. I think really what the libertarian idea is no matter what your ideas are about abortion, if you have the states decide, then if you're going to live in a state like Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, you're more likely going to have people that are not going to want to have abortion be legal in their state. However, if you're in California, I mean, you're going to have a lot of California people getting abortions because that's what the majority of people do. So that's the idea of having states' rights. But of course, people are saying, hey, that doesn't work because if I need to have an abortion, what do I have to do? Go across state lines? And in order to do that, in some cases, maybe things can be life-threatening. So that's probably an issue. Maybe I think the Republicans can take a more libertarian approach in order to still espouse their beliefs in being pro-life and anti-abortion without losing power. Because when the Republicans lose power in Congress and in the public mind, you're going to have people that are just not going to care. They're not going to care. They don't like all of this abortion banning. Because I'm a male, I'm not going to want getting an abortion, so I'm really not in this fight. However, I think that it's really something that, how can you legislate morality in that regard? It's pretty difficult to do.
In each state. And I trust the people of this country, state by state, to make the call for themselves.
You got to do a better job on these referenda. I think of all the stuff that's happened to the pro-life cause, they have been caught flat-footed on these referenda, and they have been losing the referenda.
And what I'll tell you is, as much as I'm pro-life, I don't judge anyone for being pro-choice, and I don't want them to judge me for being pro-life. So when we're looking at this, there are some states that are going more on the pro-life side. I welcome that. There's some states that are going more on the pro-choice side. I wish that wasn't the case, but the people decided.
Okay, so that pretty much makes sense. That's kind of like what I was just saying. If you have states' rights, then you're going to have less issues, and the Republicans are more likely going to win more elections. So, if anything can be shown as proof for all of this, what's happened with this off-year general election, Republicans really need to work on how things are going to be presented to the public, how they're going to get votes, how they're going to win Congress and the Senate and the presidency. So that is something that they'll have to work on. And I think the Republicans on this debate really were able to debate that, and I think in a reasonable way. So I hope you like this video. Be sure to subscribe and like for more videos to come, and I'll see you on the next video.